Welcome into the buy one, get one free here today in this one, folks. Two videos for me to react to. First one up here is in regards to Elon Musk and Tesla pulling rabbits out of the hat left and right. Tesla grows lead against EV competition with 60% of sales in the first half of 2023. All these numbers are kind of getting finalized right now. I want to go ahead and watch this one, react to this one, kind of give my perspective and opinion, okay? Second video up here, well, you know, Elon Musk is kicking people's butt in one category. He's getting his butt kicked in another category, okay? Meta threads could take years to ramp up monetization. So I want to watch that one, want to give my perspective out there, because obviously it's pretty clear cut that Threads is going to be a massive success. If you want to know how to track like how many users are on Threads, there's actually this cool little website I found where basically you can track how many people are using like Threads and how many users are jumping on the platform. And pretty incredible numbers. I mean, just 7 hours ago, 68 million users. Then 5 hours ago, 70 million. Right now, there's 75, almost 76 million users. By the end of this weekend, we'll be well over 100 million users. And probably by the time we hit 1 week old with this app, it will be over 150 million users, which is scales that we've never seen in terms of, you've never seen anything ramp this quickly ever in history. This makes ChatGPT look like little child's play type stuff in terms of how many users have been using that and how many people have kind of jumped on. So incredible, folks. And wait to see the numbers, a few months from now and a few quarters from now. So appreciate everybody joining me as always. Thanks so much for being here, folks. Thanks for being subscribed. If you're looking to apply to join my private stock group, see if you're a good fit for that, fill out an application. That will be the pinned comment down there. And let's get into this.
He has the details. Bill, I see more and more Rivians out there in the wild, but they do have a long way to go, don't they?
Oh, Rivian. Real quick before we even get into Tesla. Rivian. Oh my gosh, okay. I have seen a lot of Rivians recently. I'm really talking about the last like 2 or 3 months. I mean, specifically in Arizona, I spent like a month in Arizona. Holy smokers, that was no joke, because Rivians were everywhere out in Arizona. I was like, wow, they're selling really well. I've seen more and more in Vegas as well. I'm a believer in Rivian long term. I don't own any of the stock. I have no interest in owning the direct stock. I own Amazon stock, which is a huge shareholder of Rivian. So if Rivian is a big success long term, obviously that will just help kind of add fuel to the fire with Amazon. But I've been really impressed with Rivian, okay? Bottom line in regards to that, and I've stated that for quite a while now. And I remain, if you're going to tell me I was forced to buy an EV stock other than Tesla, I'm telling you, like, Rivian would be the only one I would even be able to start to consider.
They do, but they have improved their production, and we'll show you just how much they've improved it in just a little bit. I love this report, Amy, because it's the most up-to-date snapshot of the electric vehicles people in the United States are buying right now. In the first half of this year, they're still buying Teslas. Oh, yeah, by an overwhelming number of vehicles that are out there. 60% of the EVs that were sold in the first half of this year, according to Motor Intelligence, were Teslas. By the way,
that's incredible. And remember what they told us was going to be happening in a huge way by 2023. The competition was supposed to be here. Tesla was supposed to be getting their lunch eaten by GM and Ford and Volkswagen and all the other big guys, okay? And look at the numbers. I mean, it's clear as day Tesla's still eating everybody's lunch in a year when they were supposed to be done by this point in time.
Most of them are Model Y or Model 3. In fact, over half of the EV sales in the first half of this year were Model 3 or Model Y, about 56%. In the first half, Tesla increased its sales by 29.7%. So you're looking at a company, right?
Wow, that other big number, 7.2% of all auto sales are EVs already. So what we talked about, folks, EVs are going to flip on ICE this decade, and it's going to flip in a substantial way. Even when I say flip, I'm basically meaning EVs will overtake market share of new vehicles sold versus ICE vehicles. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. When you see kind of how these numbers are ramping up here, oh my gosh.
Now that continues to grow, its gap between them and the next closest is more than 300,000 vehicles. So as you take a look at shares of Tesla, yes, this has helped the company's stock move higher over the last several weeks, the fact that they've had some strong demand, but it's really about gross auto margins. And we'll find out what they were for the second quarter on July 19th when the company reports after the bell. You mentioned Rivian.
It's incredible. You think about it like this, right? Tesla, you think about how strong Tesla sales have been, the type of numbers they're putting up. And that's with EVs being 7.2% of total autos sold in the United States of America in the first half of this year, right? What happens when we flip to 72%? Of auto sales are going to be EVs, which is going to happen in terms of new auto sales. That's going to happen sooner rather than later, right? You can make a prediction that that's maybe 5 years out, 7 years out, 9 years out, depends upon, you know, where you want to run your time frames on. But that will happen likely within the next, you know, at some point this decade. So, you know, could Tesla be producing 10x the amount of vehicles if that was a situation? If they keep the same amount of market share, absolutely, right? And you could say, well, what if other competitors kind of hammer them in price? From what we've seen, the one who's taking it to all the competitors in terms of pricing is Tesla. So, you know, that whole argument they used to scare people, like, oh, you know, the competition's coming for Tesla and, you know, they're going to smash down their margins. At the end of the day, it looks like if anybody's the aggressor when it comes to pricing, it's Tesla. And that's a huge mindset shift for the investor community.
What a day for Rivian. Really, what a month for Rivian. This stock has exploded. You talk about Wedbush and the fact that they have raised the price target from 25 to 30 on stronger production.
Oh, my
The R1T is now the best-selling electric pickup truck in the United States. Easily outselling Ford's F-150 Lightning. And speaking of Ford as well.
There's a problem coming for Rivian, though. I will admit it, okay? There's a huge problem coming for Rivian. Do you know what that huge problem is? I'll tell you what it is. Cybertruck. So the beautiful thing for Rivian is they haven't had any serious competition. Let's just call it what it is, okay? There is no serious competition for really Rivian and Tesla in any significant way from what we've seen so far, right? So the beautiful thing with Rivian is they haven't even had to compete with Tesla yet because they've been so heavy on the pickup truck. The day the Cybertruck starts to get out there, and by the way, I saw a Cybertruck next to a Rivian truck. This was Franz was recently driving one. He just happened to go by one, and I was like, dang, that Cybertruck looks so much more epic than a Rivian. It makes Rivian look like just a traditional truck. That's going to hurt Rivian in a substantial way, okay? And so we do have to talk about that. I don't know if it's, you know, could hurt them long term because I think Rivian can continue to grow for a long time, but there's no doubt it's going to steal a lot of sales over the next, in my opinion, in 2024 specifically. And that could definitely put a dent in Rivian's numbers there. When you talk about good old Tesla Tesla, I mean, that's going to be no joke to compete against the Cybertruck. It's going to be vicious, just to be honest. It's going to be absolutely brutal. But up until this time, if you want a pickup truck, like, you're going to get a Rivian truck. Like, that's the bottom line. Now it's like, do I get a Cybertruck or do I get a Rivian? And I'll just be honest, Cybertruck's going to win most of those conversations.
General Motors, they both had price target increases today from Morgan Stanley. But both of those companies, Eamon, when you look at where they are in their EV production, yeah, there was some downtime at Ford. They had some issues with a battery fire investigation with the F-150 Lightning earlier this year. And GM has increased production, but both of them have been very slow in the ramp-up of EV production. And that is one reason why people look at EVs right now and they say, I see Teslas everywhere. I'm starting to see more Rivians. Where are the GM and the Ford models? We're just not seeing a ton of them right now. You actually see a lot of Hyundais out there. They're number 2 in terms of market share.
Yeah, a lot of those guys way behind. And Tesla not afraid to scoop up market share by cutting prices. I wonder if you're going to see more Tesla price cuts in the future. It's sort of a controversial strategy earlier this year. Seems to have paid off, right, in terms of that market share that you're just pointing to. But is there a point where you start to cut into profits too much if you cut those prices?
We'll find out on July 19th. Look, the gross auto margins are expected to come down. They were 19.5% in the first quarter. Most are saying they're going to come down 1% or 2% in the second quarter. At least that's the conjecture that's out there among analysts. And that's because of the price cuts. But the biggest impact with those price cuts, Eamon, it's China. It's brutally competitive in China right now in terms of pricing. That's the biggest impact for Tesla.
And they just
Not
put
as
a
much
floor
here in the United States, but though we are seeing some.
And they just put a floor on prices in China, right? The government teamed up with the Chinese automakers and said no more price cuts.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
You know how this works, Eamon. There's supposed to be a floor there, and then we hear there's reports a day later that some of the companies are juicing the market a little bit.
We'll see.
I'm always a little bit skeptical of these agreements.
Okay. What's my opinion if Tesla's going to do further price cuts and things like that? I believe if the economy gets better and better in a healthier spot and consumers get in a better spot, I believe Tesla, if anything, they're going to raise price rather than lower price more on Model 3, Model Y. If the economy gets worse, I believe Tesla would potentially drop price again because the way I think Elon sees it is I think Elon just looks out there and he says, okay, the worse the economy is, the more it's going to hurt our competition as a competitive threat, and the more we're just going to boost. Sometimes I don't even know how much Elon and the team's really worried about competition. I think at the end of the day, it's just like, should we stoke demand? Should we take more market share from, traditional auto? And I think that's the bottom line. I don't think Tesla really needs to drop price anymore right now. If the economy was to deteriorate in a massive way, it's a totally different situation. But I don't think Tesla needs to drop price. Clearly, the demand's there. They just reported 83% delivery growth year-over-year basis. Like, they're good, okay? Meta Threads, let's talk about that and what's going on here.
Patterson, KeyBank senior analyst who has an overweight rating on Meta with a $335 price target. Justin, thanks for being here. So eventually they'll be able to monetize this. Is that your take? And if so, when is that? And do you incorporate that into your modeling at this point?
Eventually, yes. So if you look at the history of Facebook product rollouts, it's typically focused on audience building before monetization. Get to hundreds of millions of users, even billions of users before you really turn on that ad funnel. So right now, this is a product that's really had a tremendous amount of success. Day one, 50 million signups in 24 hours is very impressive, but it's still early innings. We still have to see engagement build up. So frequency, time spent on the site before Meta really turns.
This is why this stock price hasn't, let's say, shot up this week, right? Because you would think, well, man, they just launched this new massive platform that could have many hundreds of millions of people using it, maybe potentially a billion people long term, and that's like crazy because they basically just started another Instagram. They basically just started another WhatsApp or Messenger or, that's incredible. But, and I think this is important for folks to understand this, Meta's not going to make money off this for a while. But the thing is, a lot of people aren't even thinking about Meta making money here until like 5 years from now, okay? Because traditionally, Meta doesn't make money on any platforms for at least really, in terms of significant amounts of money, in terms of, for at least like the first 4 years to 5 years of that platform. This Threads is building out and scaling so quickly that monetization could come in this a lot faster, I mean immensely faster than anyone's anticipating. As in, I'm talking like the end of 24, beginning of 25 start monetization. Most people aren't even thinking about this for another 5 years to start making any money. I'm thinking about it like a year or two from now could already be making money because I think they're going to scale to a 500 million plus users really quickly, and then on their way to a billion plus, which is where Zuckerberg likes the platform to be before they start monetizing, right? And they don't need to push the monetization button anytime soon because basically WhatsApp's about to monetize in a massive way. Instagram Reels is taking off like insane right now, so that's got to be a huge monetization engine. Plus, they got other things in the pipe right now, including Quest 3 that's about to come out that's, in my opinion, going to sell between 50 million and 100 million units over the next couple years. So Meta has a million like monetization avenues over this next, let's call it 1 to 3 years. So they don't even need to monetize Threads if they don't want. But all I'm saying is I think monetization is going to come on there way quicker than anyone's really forecasting or expecting in regards to this because of how fast this is scaling. No, we've never seen a product scale this fast in the history of mankind. So how fast this is scaling is at breakneck speed, folks. I mean, like I said, by the end of this weekend, we're going to be well over 100 million users on the platform. That's insane. I mean, absolutely insane. We've never seen... Nothing has scaled like this. ChatGPT, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, I guess, YouTube. We've never seen anything even remotely in this category, folks. This is a whole different ball game in regards to this.
We're just monetizing this one. So right now, when we look at our model, don't really have anything in there for the next 2 years. But if this ramps up faster than we think, it could be an upside vector.
What's the usual ramp-up time if we look at previous...
See, that gentleman, very important. What he just said there is extremely important. He says, we don't have anything baked in our models for the next 2 years. And when he says next 2 years, I bet what he actually means is 2024 and 2025. He's already thinking past this year. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Wall Street's not expecting anything from the monetization engine for 2024 or 2025. They're thinking maybe a little start in 2026, maybe start to ramp bigger in 2027, 2028. We'll see. But with how fast this baby's scaling, and Meta is so good with advertising, so they got unlimited amount of advertising already, ready to go. Whenever they want to hit the button, baby, it's there.
Their products, just as a kind of case study.
It varies. So the big challenge, I think actually the better reference point is just to look at Twitter, which, peaked at roughly 37 million daily active users in the US and had north of 200 million internationally. So if you look at that, that was about a $5 billion business before it was acquired by Elon Musk. With Meta, the goal would be to expand the audience, make this product much easier to use than Twitter, so that way you can really turn into a much bigger product over time. But compare this to, say, Instagram or core Facebook, which are much easier to use, very different products today.
Wondering how you're viewing Meta, the stock, and how it's positioned right here after this massive rebound we've had. As pointing out earlier, 300 is the price at which it really fell hard from back at the beginning of last year. It's struggled to spend much time above that. It seems like the margin story's been very well embraced. Some measures of hedge fund popularity have it as one of the biggest concentrated holdings. What's left right here as we get the...
Before we go further here, Meta has the perfect storm going, folks. I mean, absolutely the perfect storm going right now. You need really two things to kind of be the perfect storm. One, you need the revenue story to come through. And with Meta, the revenue story is coming through in a massive way. Advertising market looks like it's going to shape up better than folks anticipated 6 months ago, 9 months ago. That's phenomenal, right? On top of that, WhatsApp monetization coming through, Instagram Reels scale up, and now monetization is going to really start shining through in the back half of this year and as we go into 2024. You have Quest 3 that's going to hit the market, right, which is a huge monetization opportunity, including now they have a monthly plan that's like, if I recall, $8 a month that I think a lot of people are going to sign up for in regards to the Quest 3 product. So that's coming through. You have the checkmark service, which is like $15 a month, which massive amounts of folks have signed up for to have the blue verification badges for many various reasons. People sign up for that, right? That's a huge new kind of vector there. And so the revenue side is so exciting for this next several years for Meta. It's ridiculous, okay? But to add fuel to the fire, and this is huge, is they just performed massive, epic employee cuts, okay? So we're talking about a business that all of a sudden is going to have these million different monetization avenues coming over the next couple of years, while they're going to be really lean, which means what? That earnings per share, that net income is going to fly, okay, absolutely fly. And we know Zuckerberg has said that he wants to keep the business as lean as possible kind of moving forward because they can move faster, which it looks like his work is paying off because it looks like Meta's moving faster than any public company in the world right now. There's no one that's moving at the speed that Meta's moving at right now. So it's clear that Zuckerberg's moves making his. So Meta could continue to hire in future years, but they're going to do it at a very modest level compared to that insanity in the way they were hiring in the past. So, folks, there's several avenues that are just extremely enticing. And as the metaverse builds out and it becomes, you know, a bigger and bigger revenue story, that cuts down those losses that business has been hemorrhaging money. You know, $1 billion plus a month it hemorrhages. What happens when they get it to break even? Which probably isn't happening this year, certainly not, but maybe 2-3 years out. And then what happens when it starts to actually make money? And instead of losing $1 billion to $2 billion a month on that business, it starts making him $1 billion to $2 billion a month on that business, or a lot more than that, folks. So, you know, I mean, my gosh, okay. So that's why Meta's a perfect storm here. It's got the top line story on lock now for the next several years, and it's got the bottom line story on lock for the next several years. And that's why there's a reason I got it as my biggest position in the public account, because this is the ideal situation.
The multiple back to around its average of the last few years.
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now you have had the combination of positive revisions and multiple expansion. We still think there's a little bit of room on the multiple, that this should trade roughly around 20 times.
Oh,
but I think the bigger...
And that's even more fuel to the fire. The stock still trades disgustingly way too cheap. Even today, even after this massive move and it's nearly $300 a share, it's way too cheap on a forward P basis based upon the type of growth this company has in future years, based upon the balance sheet, the management team, everything across the board.
Right now is there's still a top line story here from an ad product cycle. So you have Reels ramping at present. You have click to message growing on the WhatsApp side. And you have this AI product, Advantage Plus, that's really helped address some of the privacy challenges after Apple's platform.
Yeah, and I never even spoke about AI. You know, and that's where you get into the stock and it's just like, oh man, is this just the most beautiful stock to hold for the next few years? Like, literally, I didn't even have to touch on AI. That's a whole, my gosh, man, there's cherries all over this ice cream.
advantages. So I roll all of that together. This is still one of the few internet assets, large cap internet assets that have double-digit growth with a mid-teens growth profile. And if you layer that together, we think there's close to $16.77 in earnings next year, which gets us to our $335 stock price.
Is that true kind of regardless of the broader economic picture? We talked
I think his number is extremely conservative. I wouldn't be surprised if Meta crosses 400 plus by the end of the year. We'll see. Yeah.
Last hour, just about Meta's share of the advertising market, especially relative to Twitter, and just the economies of scales it gets by having all the various products with the critical mass of user bases you were talking about earlier. Is that essentially recession-proof in a way?
I would stop short of saying recession-proof within there. If you step back and look at just how internet's behaved over the past 2 years or so, you've really seen a lot more macro sensitivity. And even in 2008, 2009, you did actually see Google search slow pretty precipitously. And all these businesses are much more penetrated than they were back in the 08, 09 timeframe. That said, where we see some advantages for Meta versus other stocks is you have these micro level product cycles. You have Meta really ramping up Reels monetization, which was a pretty big headwind last year that flips to a positive later this year. You're not going to have that being a net drag on the business. You have this AI product cycle that's actually, in some cases, driving better results than what existed in the pre-Apple platform change world. And then you've got this emerging WhatsApp side of the business that also provides a net new revenue stream in there. So stack that up with a little less cyclicality here than you do for other assets.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about Meta, it's one of those stocks people look at and they're like, I missed it, man. It's up so much, I missed it. Like, Meta's going to be a $5 trillion, $10 trillion type company. Like, you haven't missed anything with Meta. That move off the lows is like nothing compared to where their stock's going to be in a few years from now. So that's my personal opinion in regards to that. Appreciate everybody joining me as always. Thanks so much for being here, folks. I love having Meta and Tesla as the two biggest positions in the public account because they are the creme de la creme. Let's just call it that, okay? Appreciate y'all. Much love as always. If you're looking to apply to join my private group and see if you're a good fit for in there, fill out an application. There'll be a pinned comment down there, and we'll see if you're a good fit. Much love, and have a great day.